Britain's natural beauty is often overlooked. So let's take a walk on the wild side, over our green and pleasant land. Along our rugged coastline. And around the 6,000 islands that make up the British Isles. Over one dramatic year, we'll follow the extraordinary wildlife on our doorstep. From the familiar to the surprising. We share this truly special part of the planet with millions of animals. This place we're lucky enough to call home is a natural wonder. Famed throughout the world, our countryside is a national glory, and it's right on our doorstep. It looks like a timeless, peaceful place, but it's actually one of our fastest changing landscapes and home to some of our best loved wildlife. Barn owls are silent assassins. They normally hunt at night, but this owl is up late, hoping for one last kill. She has to eat at least 4 times before she turns in. She's looking for voles, shrews, and mice. They hide in long, rough grass, and there's a lot less of it than there used to be. She hunts around the edges of the fields, where the farmer has left the grass a bit longer. She's listening for any sound of movement. Barn owls have the best hearing of any known animal, even able to detect a mouse's heartbeat. Her flight is completely silent. Her meter-wide wings have very soft, light feathers that absorb any noise. The odds seem stacked in this assassin's favor, but most hunts fail. As few as 1 in 10 succeed. Time is running out this morning, and she's not the only one looking for food. A potential thief is watching her every move. And when our owl finally strikes, the kestrel seizes the moment. In a rarely seen encounter, 2 iconic birds of prey battle it out for food. Only one of these hunters will eat this morning. The kestrel is fast and agile, less than half the weight of the barn owl. She's intent on stealing the vole with her 2-inch claws. A fight on the ground is too dangerous for the owl. Most barn owls give up their meal rather than risk injury. the thief wins. With less and less long grass to hunt in, and more competition, life's tough for a barn owl. But there are some animals that positively thrive in our rapidly changing countryside. Foxes are brilliantly adaptable. They can live almost anywhere. These 5-week-old cubs are growing up in a secluded corner of Dorset. They weigh less than a kilogram and are still dependent on Mum's milk. She's never far away. In just 3 weeks, they'll have to hunt for themselves. Their playful curiosity builds vital skills. The odd tumble is all part of the process. Mum watches over them while Dad's out hunting. Anything from small mammals to worms, insects, and even berries. When it comes to food, foxes are just not fussy. That's why they're one of our most successful animals, living throughout Britain. But there's a twist to this tale. Because at night, our fluffy foxes have a dark side, which leaves everyone running scared. Britain's countryside is full of familiar creatures, though often we only get glimpses of their lives. Few of us have ever seen what they get up to after dark. Until now. Highly specialized heat-sensitive cameras give us a rare glimpse of this magical and sometimes sinister nighttime world. Fallow deer, one of Britain's 6 species of deer, are wary by nature. They stay alert throughout the night, only taking short naps. Something spooked them. A fox. But he's no threat to them. He's targeting a much smaller animal. Tiny wood mice come out to feed under cover of darkness. They have voracious appetites, eating almost constantly. This one's rooting around for seeds and berries. He's quick on his feet, and he needs to be. He's a favorite food of many predators. Very few wood mice live from one summer to the next. The fox can hear a mouse squeak from over 100 meters away. He's getting closer. The mouse freezes. To run now would be fatal. The fox digs for food just a short pounce away. This time, the fox misses him. But the mouse will have to stay alert if he's to make it through the night. The countryside is alive day and night, as this unique view illustrates. And animals have found a way to live alongside us, despite all the changes we continue to make. Today, 3/4 of our countryside is farmland. From upland sheep farms in the north and west, to low-lying pastures in the south, hedges are an important part of this checkerboard landscape. They've marked boundaries since Roman times and are one of our most important wildlife havens. There are 280,000 miles of them across Britain, enough to stretch 11 times around the Earth. Spring brings a hedgerow spectacle. Flowering hawthorn decorates our field edges, attracting a wealth of insects. Bees rely on the flowers for their favourite nectar meal. We have more than 250 species, all vital pollinators for our crops and wildflowers. The nectar attracts all manner of insects, including hoverflies and butterflies, like the stunning green hairstreak, Britain's only green butterfly. Throughout the year, hawthorn flowers feed more than 150 different types of insect. All tasty food for our countryside birds. Our hedgerows are vital corridors between woodland and grassland. They're often the only refuge in the farmed landscape. A nesting site and a songpost. In summer, the British countryside, golden and glowing, bursts into life. Male fallow deer find food and shelter in the crops, but hiding's not their forte. Their distinctive broad antlers give them away. Tens of thousands of fallow deer have found a way to live alongside us, even during our busy harvesting season. They're one of the biggest species to have made their home on Britain's 200,000 or so farms. With no natural predators, little disturbs their peace, except for the odd combine harvester. Originally from the Mediterranean, fallow deer have been here for more than 1,000 years. One of Britain's 6 deer species. On the Welsh border in Herefordshire, Jack Pantle's family has been farming here for more than 100 years. Jack's from a long line of arable farmers and, like many of them, has a special connection with nature. He sees himself as a guardian of the countryside and the wildlife that lives here. And he considers his farm to be in the animals' territory, so does his best to look after it with wildlife in mind. Harvest time offers a chance to see which animals are doing well. While he's at work in the fields, one of Britain's most impressive predators arrives on the scene, eyeing up an opportunity. Buzzards have powerful eyesight, able to spot a rabbit from over a mile away. Hunting and pesticides once threatened their existence, but around 300,000 buzzards hunt over Britain today. Rabbits, mice and voles hide easily when the crops are high, but as soon as they're cut down, it leaves them exposed. It's a time of plenty for these highly adaptable birds of prey. But it won't last long. The buzzard's prey will soon head for cover. Jack leaves wild areas at the edges of the fields to create space for wildlife, including insects for these swallows to eat after their 6,000-mile migration from South Africa. Every April, they come back to the farm to set up home in the old outbuildings. These 3 hungry chicks need feeding up to 400 times a day. That's every 2 minutes. Their parents rely on the plentiful insects along Jack's field edges. Swallows aren't the only animals making use of roof spaces across our countryside. Our farms and homes make cosy refuges for the world's only flying mammals, bats. Many bats use tree cavities, roosting there by day and coming out at night to feast on our countryside insects. But as our trees have given way to farmland, they rely more and more on our buildings. This Hampshire farm has some extra lodgers in the attic, and bat enthusiasts Ian and Nick are setting up for a night of high-tech wildlife watching. Bats find their insect prey using sound waves and echoes at frequencies we can't hear. But Nick's bat detector picks up these high-pitched sounds and identifies exactly which species are here. The bats making their home in this roof are brown long-eared bats, one of the most endearing of our 18 species. Their large ears, almost as long as their body, enable them to hear a moth in flight. When resting, they curl them back like ram's horns. Most of us will only ever glimpse a bat as it flies past at dusk. But Ian's thermal imaging camera shows exactly what's going on. It reveals the bat's incredible agility. And the importance of roost sites like these in the heart of our farms. With the help of this technology, we now know that over half of our bat species use our buildings, showing how vital these man-made homes are in our changing landscape. For Britain's fastest land animal, the wide expanses of Norfolk are a perfect playground. Brown hares are well equipped for these open fields. They have excellent hearing, a keen sense of smell, and all-round vision. On a hot spring day, the Mad March hare could be vulnerable in this heat. They're normally nocturnal. But these fresh new shoots are too good to resist. Brown hares are found on almost all of our open farmland throughout Britain. They've made the most of this man-made landscape since arriving with the Romans nearly 2,000 years ago. Hares are bigger and nearly twice as heavy as their rabbit cousins, with longer ears. Powerful hind legs give them speeds of up to 45 miles an hour, quick enough to finish a 100-metre sprint in just 5 seconds. That's almost twice as fast as Usain Bolt. But there's a different kind of contest going on here. In spring, hares have only one thing on their mind. A young male catches the scent of a female who may be ready to mate. He makes a move and is quickly rejected. She's picky. Only the fittest males will do. So she makes him chase her. All this running around tests his strength and endurance. And it's a real test in this heat. Nevertheless, our young male is persistent. But his time is running out. With temperatures rising, soon they'll have to retreat to the shade to rest up. The young buck gives it one last go to win over his female. But she sends him a clear message. Males use a spray of scent to show off, but from a female, it's a firm rejection. Our male is defeated. It's been a long morning for everyone. Our British countryside has changed more in the last 100 years than in the previous 2,000. The sheer speed of change puts a lot of our wildlife to the test. Hares and their rabbit cousins have had 2 millennia to adapt to our farmland. But there's a more recent arrival who's quickly made himself at home in our man-made landscape. A predator which stalks the fields of the Yorkshire Dales, making our farmland its hunting home. The local rabbits don't need to worry, because this hunter is far smaller than they are. Little owls are the size of a starling and the weight of a cricket ball. Unlike other owls, they often hunt in daylight and eat insects and other creepy crawlies. They were brought to Britain from Italy 100 years ago by wealthy landowners to eat garden pests. They adapted well and quickly spread. Their compact size means they can use small tree hollows to raise a family. But life in a little owl nest is far from cute and cozy. It can be brutal, because little owl chicks have a dark side. Mum lays up to 4 eggs that hatch a month later. Both parents work in shifts to bring a constant supply of worms, insects, and small rodents. The chicks ruthlessly compete for every meal. Only the strongest survive. When one chick starts to fall behind, he quickly dies. Now the other 3 have a better chance. But the fight's not finished yet. Despite the parents' best efforts, often only 1 or 2 chicks make it through. Just 1 in 3 little owls sees its first birthday. In this nest, there's only 1 survivor. He takes his first tentative steps outside home. Head bobbing is a sign he's anxious. Mum keeps a watchful eye from nearby. His fluffy, downy feathers show he's not quite ready to fly. Just a week later, with fully developed plumage, his life has reached a critical point. He makes his first flight to take up position on Mum's favourite perch, while she watches from close by. The little owl has quickly made a home in our countryside without having to compete with our native owls. In the 100 years that they've been here, they've adapted to the farmland we see today. But if you want to see what Britain looked like when little owls arrived, then you have to come to a very special place in Yorkshire. Just 30 miles from York, there's a place where the farmers have gone back in time. Where they've swapped riding their tractors for riding their cattle. Rosewood Farm in the lower Derwent Valley is a unique place for wildlife, thanks to pioneering livestock farmer Natalie Rose. She's borrowed grazing methods from the past and works the land according to ancient traditions. Natalie's cows never stay in one field for very long. She keeps her herd of 140 cattle on the move. They never graze the same patch of grass for more than a day a year. This mimics grazing animals on the Serengeti or bison in America, where the herds are always moving. The result is longer grass, so flowers are able to thrive and wildlife moves in droves. Rosewood has huge numbers of endangered lapwing that were once numerous on British farms. and there are rare species of wildflower thriving here. These flower-rich meadows are mini jungles with up to 40 different animals in every square metre. And these rich grasslands are home to one of Rosewood's greatest successes. The farm's been called the barn owl capital of Europe. They have more than 60 nesting sites for barn owls. Elsewhere, barn owls struggle, but here, large areas of wild meadow mean plenty of mice and voles for these silent hunters to feast on. And raise a family. Farms like Rosewood are making a success of both farming and looking after wildlife. Wildlife protection can come from the most surprising sources. 250 miles south, Salisbury Plain in Wiltshire has been untouched by intensive farming for more than 100 years. Protected by the military as a training ground, the resulting grasslands are now home to an exotic, historic relic. Great bustards were once part of our landscape, but were hunted out of existence nearly 200 years ago. Today, a small population, reintroduced from Russia, is making Salisbury Plain their home again. Bigger than a turkey, standing a metre tall, they're the heaviest flying birds in Britain. They feed on the plentiful seeds and insects on these protected plains. In spring, males get ready to mate. They grow long white whiskers and their feathers become more vivid. They develop a chestnut-coloured band on their chest that gets wider and brighter with age. With all this finery, it's time to show off. But these gentlemen's clubs have a strict hierarchy. This mature male is Kingpin, but every morning he has to defend his title against all challengers with a flamboyant dance. Being in the top spot gives him the best chance of mating with the females. He cocks his tail, lowers his wings, and fans them out. Exposing a frill of white feathers. Then he puffs out his throat, revealing the plumes beneath his beak. A showy display of dominance. This morning, he has a challenger. A young male has his eye on the crown. They start by circling each other. It's the cue for a dance-off. The younger rival throws in some of his best moves. But it's not enough, and a firm peck puts him in his place. The dejected younger male tucks his show feathers away. For now, his older rival is still cock of the walk. With a growing number of breeding pairs, great bustards are flourishing on Salisbury Plain. It's protected spaces like this that allow us to enjoy some of Britain's more unusual wildlife. Across Britain, there are many unique habitats that would never have existed if we hadn't farmed them. One of the most precious of all is our lowland heaths, scattered across England's mild south. They hardly look like they've been farmed, but they have, and quite aggressively. They're the result of ancient intensive farming. Early farmers worked this land until the soil was exhausted. Heather and gorse took over, creating a unique and special new habitat. Low shrubs give food and shelter, so these rare heathlands are teeming with life. They're home to an astonishing 5,000 species of invertebrates. Butterflies flourish, like this silver-studded blue. The males have distinctive metallic spots on the underside of their wings. More than half of British dragonfly species are found here. 30% of our spiders, too. It's also the realm of one of Britain's most creative insects. And an exotic-looking reptile staging an extraordinary comeback. The lowland heaths of southern Britain are a metropolis for wildlife. Full of spiky gorse, this may not seem a cosy place for a home, but it's the site of one of Britain's most remarkable building programmes. A female heath potter wasp. She's not the ordinary wasp who spoils your picnic. The clue's in her name. She's a potter, one of the rarest and most unusual of Britain's 9,000 species of wasp. She cleans a gorse stem, ready to start building. To capture the start of this process on camera is very rare indeed. Now, like every good potter, she needs good clay. She softens it with water, collected from local pools, and expertly rolls a tiny ball of mud. Back at her chosen site, she starts to sculpt. Working tirelessly through the heat of the day, she brings more and more clay to add to the structure. A skilled potter and a perfectionist, she carefully molds the clay using every part of her body, her mouthparts, her legs, and even her antennae. With the foundations laid, her structure can really take shape. She begins to fashion a bowl, which gradually becomes spherical. It takes several hours and more than 20 trips before her exquisite pot is complete. She leaves it to fire in the sun. Soon, her nest will be ready. She returns to lay a single egg in her pot, suspended on a strand of silk. But her hard work has only just begun. Her egg needs a larder of food ready for when it hatches, so she's on the hunt. She brings back caterpillars paralyzed by her sting. She starts with 7 small brown ones, but that's not enough. They get bigger and bigger. She wants to make sure her larva has plenty of food when it hatches. And up to 38 caterpillars can be stuffed into one tiny pot. To squeeze them in takes every ounce of effort. Finally, she seals her pot. Her parental duty's over for this egg. Time for a well-earned rest? No chance. It's straight on to the next pot. She may build a staggering 25 more in her short 3-month life. It may seem a lot of effort, but the young wasp needs good protection. Because our heathlands are the realm of exotic predators. Reptiles. We have 3 snake species, including the rare smooth snake. And we have lizards too, like the beautiful, endangered sand lizard. They're incredibly hard to spot, unless you know the tricks of the trade.
I keep my hands behind my back in what I call my Prince Charles walk, because I actually hold one hand to stop myself from going, look at that. Because when you move your hand and point, you freak out the lizards and they're not there anymore. So.
Peter Hill's been dubbed the Lizard Wizard. His skills have been refined thanks to years of working to protect these rare reptiles. Sand lizards bask in the early morning sun to raise their body temperature. This undulating heathland produces lots of little south-facing sun traps for them. The females are brown, but in spring, during breeding season, the males sport a bright cloak of colour to attract a mate.
It's a pretty intense period of activity for wildlife. And to add to that, looking at a fantastic little dragon that most people don't even know exists, it's just a superb experience.
Numbers have dropped due to loss and breakup of our heaths. And Peter's part of a huge effort to return these exquisite lizards to sites across 4 southern counties. Sand lizards have a unique back pattern, which is like a fingerprint. Recording these means Peter can track individuals. If you're a sand lizard, pretty much everything wants to eat you. So camouflage is vital. The lizard's skin patterns are broken up, allowing them to blend in perfectly with their surroundings. But Peter has an uncanny knack for finding them.
Most people don't notice them because they tend to be looking up and around at birds, etc. But you need to look down on these edges, these little soft pillows of moss. They're at the base of the heather clumps. You have to walk really slowly. Make sure you're not casting a shadow in front of you, which will spook them. Here's a male sand lizard, basking on the edge. A sand lizard is a beautiful, exotic little ancient Briton.
Wherever we go in our countryside, we're not far from a connection with Britain's epic past. A beautiful landscape with an incredible diversity of wildlife. Home to the familiar and the not so familiar. Teeming with activity, night and day. Surprisingly dynamic, always changing, and most of all, a beautiful world on our doorstep, accessible to every one of us. That's the real glory of Britain's countryside.